Okay, so layout-based forms are very, very versatile. And I made this page to document what we're going to talk about today. And for others who are coming later on watching this video, they can see, they can refer to this page later on. Now, but first, I think I would actually like to know who's joining us and what their background is. I am a physician, and I started working with OpenEMR because, you know, I'm a control freak and I want to be in control of my electronic medical record. How about others? Who is here?
This is Michael Blejo. I'm with Synergy Info Connect. I am the president and CEO, and we have a software platform that works with PCPs that have Medicare patients in ACOs. So like you, we're helping the doctors that are control freaks that want to know their data. That's our software. That's what we specialize in.
Any other clinicians in the group?
Okay, well, I'm John Purdy. I'm Director of IT and R&D at Omega Systems Group. We offer OpenEMR in a white label version for low-income countries in Africa and Caribbean. And we've been using it now for just about a year. And we do development and customization. We're strongly committed to the OpenEMR product and community, and we have the intention of using LBF very extensively for customization for our clients, because in these other countries outside of the US, they have a lot of different ways of doing things that are non-US and so on. So that's our interest in the product.
Yes, hi. I don't know. Can I be heard? This is Lou Galterio. Do people hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, hey, hi. So I'm not a clinician. My name is Lou Galterio, and I actually used to be on the board of OpenEMR. Hi, everybody, and Brady. I am in Florida, and I run the Suncoast Regional Health Information Organization, Suncoast Rio, and we're very excited about the release of 6.1, and we're going to be bringing some more positions in that I think there's a relaxation on the need for a 2015 certified module for quality and things like that. So I believe that phase is slowly going away. I think that's my opinion. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, hi, my name's David Eschelbacher. I'm a clinician. I've practiced primary care, and I'm hoping to use OpenEMR at some point. Right now, I still have paper records, and I'm working on some projects to modify OpenEMR to make it suit my needs before I start using it.
Hello, my name is Linda Harris. I work with John Purdy with Omega Systems Group. I do the training and support for the software, and I've been using it for about a year now. So I hope to learn a bit more about the LBF forms. Thanks.
My name is Brent. We use OpenEMR extensively in our 6 clinics. We've done extensive modification. We even used layout-based forms within a pretty extensive order module that we implemented. So not only do we use it for clinical notes, but we've also used it as we've extended it to be able to be used within our custom order module. Yeah, so it's great.
Hello, my name is Leonard. I've just got to use the software, and I'm trying to configure it for a doctor in my community. And I find this business of the layer-based form very, very interesting. And I'm just want to hear what Sandra has to say.
Okay, so we have some clinicians and we have some um, programmers or developers, right? But I think sometimes when I don't think that we all, because we're in different industries, I don't think that we always are speaking the same language. So I figured we would start with some definitions if that's okay with you guys. I wanted to define what a form is. So a form is an user interface that we use to get information from the user and enter it into a database, okay? That is not necessarily a progress note. A progress note is a part of a medical record that is a legal document. So when we enter data, when we enter data into a form, don't get confused and assume necessarily that that's the progress note. A form is just a way of getting information into the database. A progress note is a document that becomes part of the medical record. Now, reports, I wanted to define report in the administrative and the clinical sense. When in the US, for a physician who is in specialty practice to get reimbursed at a higher level, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services require that we have a referral, and that we subsequently, after the visit, after the patient encounter, we draft a report which goes back to the referring physician. There is a certain period of time that is required for us to complete this. That is not to be confused with reports from a database. Sometimes we enter information and we want to know how many pediatric patients we have. We can put that information and request it from the database, or we want to know how many patients we have who have Blue Cross Blue Shield, how many patients are indigent. So these are two different types of reports. So the reason I went into doing all of these things is because I see for about 5 years now, I've been practicing pain management. And like I said, I get patients referred to me, and then I have to generate a report and send it to a referring physician. So just entering data into the database is not enough for me. I have to actually generate a report and either fax it back or mail it back. And intermittently, I've been doing it the old-fashioned way of just opening the encounter, clicking on the vitals and the progress note or the SOAP note and printing that out. But remember, I need to do all of this in 15 minutes or less. Otherwise, I bring my work home, and at the end of the day, I am finishing my notes so I can send them to the referring physician, right? So what I want to do is I want to generate a form that at the end of the visit, I click enter and becomes a report. So that's how I started doing all of this. Now, let us go into layout-based forms. Layout-based forms are very, very nifty. They are, in fact, the way that the patient data is entered into OpenEMR is actually a layout-based forms. The contact, the history, the address, the patient address, employee, all of that is actually part of a layout-based form that comes in the core of OpenEMR. And you can actually go into the demographics page in the layout-based form and see that, and try to get an idea of an understanding for how it all works. I mean, in the back end. The thing is, it's we don't always have time to do this. So this is why we decided to do this today, because not everybody that looks at the back end can understand it, and not everyone has the time to look at the back end and try to figure it out. Let's see. So let us go to show you what I'm talking about. Where is it? This is the demo. And I'm going to exit this demo so that I can start at the very beginning. Do you see my screen?
No,
No,
it's
I think
Canadian
you may
share.
just be sharing the single screen. You may have to share your whole.
I don't know how to do
desktop.
that.
So you may have to unshare and then share again, and then when you.
So
when it-
everybody's been looking at my face this whole time and not.
No,
us?
no, no,
No,
no, no.
we've seen-
We can see your layout based form, but what happens is
Okay, so
that,
let me just
oh,
open this.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, just do another tab. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're just stuck on this window basically for sharing, which is fine.
I'm good, that's fine. Okay, now I just need to minimize. How do I minimize this? Perfect, okay. Oh my goodness, I can't get to. Okay, there we go. So when you enter OpenEMR, you go to admin. Well, actually, let's find a patient. Mr. Phil Bedford. And here's what the dashboard looks like. And if we want to edit the demographic, this is this is actually an LBF form. Not the dashboard itself, but the demographic, the edit current patient form. This is a layout based form, and I'm going to show it to you by going to admin forms layouts. And we can see it right here. You see that? All right. Now, when it comes to creating a form, they can be very simple or they can be as complicated as that ordering system that someone was talking about before. But to plan your layout based form, you need to sort of make a written template of what it is that you want and understand what you want. In the layout based forms that I want to talk about today is this pain history, which is a layout based form that I am actually currently putting on the other side of the patient portal and having the patients complete. So this is the one this is it. Now in the wiki, I uploaded the page. I couldn't get one image of the whole thing, so I put it in 2 halves and then it just turned out to be humongous. So, you know. Now, this is the form that we're gonna take a look at. Now, how do I would like to open my local host. And so how would I share that screen? I'm gonna need help doing that.
Can you make another tab? Just go localhost.
Well, this one is Firefox, which is actually what I use for OpenEMR. But how do I already have it on my screen. How do I share it?
Oh, so you're gonna have to. So like when you did your initial share screen, it usually it'll ask you like what screen you want to share, and it'll list all your windows. But what you want to do is pick the first one.
Do you see it now then?
Let's see here.
Do you see Chrome on the top and Firefox on the bottom?
Yeah. So actually, it looks like you are sharing your desktop, or somehow, yeah, I can see it. I mean, it's a little small, but is there a way to make it?
Well, you know what? That's how, this. I'm working out of my laptop, and yeah. So
I think it'll work.
Okay, so let's close here.
There, perfect.
And what I want to show you is, I wanted to show you a completed one, which I entered earlier today into the demo. And I want to show you how I created this and show you some of the steps. Now, there is a small bug in OpenEMR that keeps you from opening the encounter preview. I cannot open the encounter preview. It's just a blank page if there is no patient selected. I don't know if that's a bug or if it's by design. So let us go and select a patient. And these are not my patient records. This is, this database was generated using the OpenEMR DevOps, which is on GitHub. Now, to create a brand new layout-based form, we go to Forms, and Layouts. However, remember I said we need to really plan our form. First, we must go to the lists and enter, in my case, for example, and let's see if I did this yet. We want to add in my list, we have, in my form, we have the scale from 1 to 10. So we want to add a 1 to 10 scale, if this is what you want to track. And so I call it 1 to 10. And then you're going to enter the numbers there. I'm obviously not going to do the whole thing because I've already done it in the demo, and it'll be there for everyone to see it. Now, after you make 3 entries, you can just go ahead and enter. Okay. Now, another one of the items, if you can open the wiki on your own and refer to the wiki, the other items that we have are body parts in that form. And I entered, all the body parts because that's what I wanted to be for me. But for example, if you have a practice, if it's a chiropractor, they could just enter the neck, the thoracic spine, and the lower spine. Then there's also a list that states the injury type. The injury type in this form, it would be a motor vehicle accident or workers' comp, a work-related injury. We've entered the scale. We also want to enter the type of treatment, the exacerbating factors, alleviating factors, and associated symptoms. Now, in the list that come with OpenEMR, there is a yes/no list, and there's a Boolean yes/no. That means that if I'm understanding that correctly, if I remember correctly, that you can select one or the other, but not both. Now, in this case, we have this list and we want to add, say, injury type. So injury, save that list, and then we're going to add MVA. I'm going to add work. And other. The order is the order in which you wanted each of the fields you want to appear. For example, if I change my mind and I want other to appear first, all I have to do is change this to 0 and other will appear first. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these because I've already created all of those lists in the demo, in the OpenEMR demo. But let us start by creating the form. I don't remember. So I'm using the 2 because I get forgetful when I'm anxious. So we're going to close Mr. Aguilera here. And we're going to go to layouts. And we're going to create our form. Obviously, I've already done it before, but I'm just going to do another one. So new layout form. We're going to call it a layout-based form has to start with the first 3 letters LBF and then call it whichever you would like. In my case, it will be called history 2 because I've already done one. And the title of the form will be campaign history form. There it is. You can select a subtitle if you would like. Let's enter subtitle so you can see how it renders. I'm gonna leave the standard for columns. And then I'm gonna click here, initially open sections. There is the option to, there's a lot of options. If you wanted to show this form in the dashboard, when there's a patient visit and the form gets opened and data gets entered and then it's saved, this information, if you put, say, there's issues here, I don't see it here, but you can, oh, here, issue type, if you can show under, it can show under the problems, for example. And then often, and then if you want the diagnosis section to show up at the bottom, it can show, and the services. Here you can select the visit level. For example, I don't know, I don't have that information entered here, the codes, I don't have the codes here, but you have that option. Okay. So my form has been created. The first thing we need to do is to add a group, and you can call this group, in this case, I think I called it group 1. I don't recall. Let me see what I called it. I'm cheating. Which database is this? Oh, this is mine. Okay, never mind. Here's where I want to be. Okay. Oh, past medical history. That's what I called. Okay. That group. Then you save your new group, and now we can start entering fields. We had the first field, the ID, I just number them, and this is my first label. And this is just asking what are your symptoms. And I believe this was a text box. I would like that to be 60 and 2. So the size in the wiki, I added a table that tells you, because so these are how many data types there are available in the layout-based forms. It's a lot. And the size attribute depends on the data type. So say for checkboxes, the size attribute it's a way of telling OpenEMR how to render the form. If you wanted the form to render 3 columns of checkboxes, for example, then you would put 3 here. And it would, I'll show you. In this case, it's a text box, and I'm going to set the size to 60, the height to 2. If we set this to 0, then we can enter as much information as needed. The list and the backup list are attributes that, again, depend on the data type. Now in the wiki, I want to show you, I would like everyone to imagine or to take a look at this image here, at this form. I wanted to help everyone visualize a form with 4 columns, because that's what we are doing. That's what we are doing when we are telling OpenEMR to make a layout with the property of 4 columns, a layout form. Okay, so the label column tells you, or you tell OpenEMR to how many columns to use for this label, right? So if I want to, I could use, say, one column for the label, and for the information, actually, no, I'm gonna use, how long is that? 2 columns, and for the data box, I would like to use 2 columns. Let us save this, and now let us take a look at a preview. This brings me, so you see that? Imagine, if you will, the 1 column here, 2 columns, 3 and 4. Okay, now this brings me to another point. In the groups, you also have to tell OpenEMR to open the group at the beginning. So we can go to group properties here and set initially open group. And so now that group will be opened. Okay. Let's add another field. This field will refer to specific body types, body locations. We're gonna call it 2. Here's the label. The data type will be checkboxes. We're going to put, because it's a whole bunch of body parts, we're going to distribute them across 6 columns. I believe this is not really significant here. Neither is this, if I'm not mistaken, but I always just put 0 under max size. And here we're gonna select the body part list, the body part list. Okay. Again, label column is telling me how many columns I want to use for this label here. And I'm going to use just 1 because it's a whole bunch of body parts. And the other 3 labels of the line we're going to use for the data. Save this field. Now let's preview our, there it is. So we have, but again, this data, the face, arm, left arm, right arm, all of that here, right arm, left arm, elbow, right or left, all of that has to be entered earlier on in the list section. Here under forms lists. Okay. Now let's go back to our layout form. Was it this one? Yes. Now you say, let's do this again, actually. Say, we're going to add a field here, and I'm going to call it 2A because it's going to be the same field. And the data type is going to be checkboxes. Now, instead of 6 columns, I want to use 8 columns, say. The list again is body part. Save new field. No, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's right. So here you see eight columns, and here there's only 6 columns. So there, that's a way. Now, if I could also just use 2 columns for the labeling. Say I was going to use a really long question. Let me go back. Here, this one. Number 6 is a good one. And we're going to add a field. It's going to be number 6. Data type is, again, checkboxes. And we're going to distribute them over 11 columns because it's a scale from 0 to 10. The list is the scale that we entered earlier. And I would like to use, say, how did I do this? let's see. And I want to use that. I can always just cheat and see how I figured it out before. Two and four, that's it. So what I want to do here is give this 2 columns. And let's see if that renders better. Oh, you know what? I never finished to 10. I never got to 10. I only entered up to 4. Okay, that's why I don't see. Okay, thought I was going bananas. Okay, now.
Can I ask a quick question? When you go over, so you set up your layout for 4 columns.
Yes.
You go over that 4. How can you expect it? How does the system behave when you render past 4 columns, just in general?
I've never tried that. It always, the default was 4. And so all my columns, all my forms just have 4.
Okay, so I was looking at the one you just did, and I think it was what, 3 and 4, which adds up to 7. Am I just looking at that? Am I thinking about it wrong?
No, you know what? Initially, when I created this form in particular, I didn't understand how those columns worked. I only understood that they refer to the 4 columns that I drew this week. That's why I made that image. You see, you're understanding it before I even understood it. You understand it. You're understanding it quicker than me. So I only understood that last week. Yes.
You can set how many columns you want your particular group to own. They can be up. The default's 4. You can have 6, and that's set in layout properties.
Here. Yes.
Yes.
We went over this. So I'm covering things that I didn't understand up until this last week. That's the reason why I even accepted to do this talk, is because I needed to get a handle on this. And I figured, since I was studying it for my own system, I could just share what I had learned. And that's why in the wiki, that's why I put this image, and then we'll talk about data types afterwards.
I think the question is what happens if you go past the what's set for 4, you know, the layout properties.
It goes on to the next line. It goes
Yeah,
into
it goes
the
to the
next
next
line.
line. Yeah.
So here, if we set it to 0, yes, I was gonna get to that. If we set in, if we look at the demographics layout form, this, if you set this to 0, then all of these new fields or spaces will go on onto, let me open Mr. Phil here. All these new spaces will go onto the same first line, and then you don't go to the next line until this public ID field. And let me just find the patient here so I can show you. You see that? So one line here doesn't necessarily reflect the back end. That one line is ID title, first name, middle name, last name, suffix, all these 5. All of these are on the first line. Then these 2 are on the next line. And you control that by setting the label columns and the data columns. Here is your 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so these are the 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are your 4 columns. But you can add more fields by just setting that, like here, there is column 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you have multiple spaces for data entry.
That's a little trick. If you just remember that if your layout properties are set to render 4 columns, then the rendering engine will count. So if you have space left over in one line, say you're only using 2 columns, the next item, the next line will continue on.
Let me show you an example of that. Here, for example, this is something else I'm gonna show you later on, but now let's go to the history because that's what we've been talking about. Say I put here that I want for data column, I want only one. So expect that this next item is going to show up in the first lane, right? Let's change that. You see that? Whereas your pane is not anymore in the next line, but it's in that previous line. So these two will need to add up to 4 if you want the engine to move on to the next line. Yes?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think to Brent's question, so if you end up making 6, that just means rather than 4, you need to think about a total of 6 items for each.
Okay,
row.
let's play with it. I mean, I haven't done that because, like I said, I didn't really understand this until just this week. Yeah, look at that. It's beautiful. So these are the 4 columns, and because here I put 1 and 3, that's 4, and then so the next field or the next entry goes into the first lane. Now, if I put 3 here, say, let's save the changes. And so this next entry should go into the second line. Now look at that. Yes, so it's working beautifully. So this is item number 2, and then 3 is showing up in the previous line because I haven't, because these 2 do not add up to 6. So for me to fix it, I would have to put a 3 there. Three, and now everything is moved because all of this is based on 4 columns. And so everything has been moved because I changed it to 6. So let us go and change it back. Did that answer the question? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I tell you, it took me a long time to understand the column. That's why I put that 4 columns, even though it seems very simplistic. I actually, did those lines, the little dashes, and I made that so that we can visualize it because we, everybody has, we all have a whole unique universe in our brain. And sometimes I say things and I think people are understanding me, and they're not, because they're not really in my head. So anyway, let's go back to the next topic. So I've generated this form, and it's in the demo using everything we've talked about. So we entered, let's go back and double check. We entered and recap. We entered lists into the lists. I entered everything, all the information that I want to track or that I want to enter into my progress note. I entered it into the list section whenever I wanted a list. Now there is information that the patient cannot just select, that the patient needs to enter, and that gets entered into these text areas. Now, let us go down to this question here. Are you on disability? Say the patient says no, and we need to ask, when did it begin? This should be a data field, and it's not working. Okay, let's go back and see what I put for date disability began, because it should be a date field. Text date. No, it should be text date. Is it this 0?
Yeah, that could potentially be something that doesn't work on the encounter preview. I'm just guessing.
Oh, okay, good point. Well, let's go to Mr. Phil and let's go check out his encounters. And I'm getting ahead, but well, okay, maybe I'll show you in is this mine? No, it's the demo, but you get the idea. There are, let's cover data types. Okay, so data types, remember, just as a reminder, these are the data types. Where am I? Where's my form? Layout editor. So these are the data types, okay? You can enter items into your form and select data types. And in this page, I have made a list of the data types that are available in OpenEMR as of yesterday, essentially. I made this list yesterday. And with Stephen, he gave me the some of the versions where the data type was introduced. Now, if it's not listed here, it's maybe we don't know, or it was introduced prior to version 2.7 or with version 2.7. So we don't know. But these are the fields. And the reason I put the version is because if somebody's working with version 6 and they're looking for a list box with comment, you know, they're going to go bananas. It's going to generate a question in the forum. And I figured, you know, this is a little bit more specific. It may still generate a question in the forum, but they may spend hours and hours and hours trying to find it. But, you know, that's less likely. Now, in terms of the data types, here I listed, if we go back to, oh, actually, I have down at the bottom of this page, we have resources. And this is the original layout-based forms with all the information. You see that? So here's the explanation. The size depends on the field type. So I figured I would make this table, which tells you what size means for each checkboxes. So for each data type. So for checkboxes, well, for billing codes, it's just standard, but for a checkbox, it's the number of subcolumns your checkboxes are arranged into. I showed you that. For checkboxes with text, let me show you actually checkboxes with text. Say I wanted to, instead of using the body parts, I wanted to use checkboxes with text. Save the changes. View this. There, that's what a checkbox with text looks like. Okay, and so the size attribute means the fields within the form. So let's see if we're right. That means, is that this one? No. Yes, this one here. So I put 8. What if I put 2? It's probably going to be smaller. Yeah, very small right there. So it's the size of this space here. But we don't want it like this. We want to have just plain old checkboxes. And we want it distributed along, which question is this? Is it this one? Yeah, this one. And we wanted, yes, checkboxes. And we want it over six columns. There we go. Okay, now, so this is the list of data types. Now let's see if we could go over them, if there's anything I want to add. It's kind of some of them are self-explanatory. Some of them I've never really used, like life status. I've never used that one. List box with add, we could add, for example, that we see that with the insurance, if you, when you enter the patient insurance information, a list box opens up and you can add a new insurance if you want it. A list box with comments. Oh, nation notes. I had promised that I was going to cover nation notes today, but there's too much to cover. So we're going to have to do that at another time. But this is also another powerful feature of OpenEMR. What else? These are pretty self-explanatory. Okay. All righty. Now, some data types use lists and backup lists, and I listed those here. This table is not really completed. I always leave, well, my brain doesn't turn on until the last minute, so I haven't finished this, but that's why I made the wiki so that I could finish it afterwards and it could be there for everyone to see. Now, any questions on what we've done so far, or do you want me to demonstrate anything different? Because otherwise I'm going to move to another form. Yes, if you create a layout-based form, is there a way to clone it to make a new one with modifications? I believe so. Honestly, I have not tried it, but check this out. You see this here? Copy to layout. So I could technically select my pain history form, and then I could copy it to another layout form. But I haven't tried this. This is a new feature. So I can't really speak to that, but yes, there is that possibility. By the way, here you can open the screen and you have the tips. This gives you some of the information that I've shown you on the wiki here in the tips section. Any other questions? I mean, I'm not going that far, so the questions can come afterwards anyway. So the other thing I wanted to show is the visit progress note. Say this is the progress note that I entered in the forum. Okay. Is it this the one? No. Okay, so what I want to show here is that say this is what this progress note, and there is a completed progress note. This pain visit progress note is completed and it's in the forum. But say, and this is what I use every day for everyone. So say if the patient is a workers' comp patient, then we just enter the case ID and we enter all of the questions that are required. But say the patient is neither workers' comp nor no fault. We can enter no, right? And do we really have to put up with all these questions? Because this is going to wind up being part of the report, right? So we don't really want these questions here. So what we can do is under case ID. We go to the very far right. And we hide this field if the insurance type equals no. And we also want this one hidden. Oh, I can't see it because this bar is in my way. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Insurance type equals no. We close that. Now we can go to Mr. Phil Bedford's. And we're going to close the history, but we're going to open the progress note. No. We're going to open the progress note here. Okay. And we're going to answer no.
I think you forgot to save the.
That should disappear. Oh, I did forget to save. Oh my goodness, these bars are, here it is. Save the changes. There, I did that on purpose so that everybody can see how nicely this works. Okay, this one is not relevant anymore. We have to open a new one. Look at that. So in this form is obviously not completed, but in my system, I move on to the other questions, you know, how's your pain been, yada, yada. But if it is a workers' comp patient, I leave this open and I complete the date of the, over here, I have the case ID, the date of the injury. Let me show you actually, because I was prepared to add the other questions. Here, these are other questions. It's just that making the entries can get tedious, but let's give it a try. If you guys will just humor me. We go to the editor. We're going to add a field here. It's going to be number 4. This is the label. Oh, I get to show you something. This would be a yes, no list. It's a list box. Is what I ended up doing. We're gonna make that 3. And the list is the no, actually, this is a long question, so we're going to give it 3 columns. And the answer is short and sweet. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to save the field. Now, you know what? This is good because I can bring up this little bug here in OpenEMR. So the first time you save a really long question, it kind of truncates after a certain number of characters. So what I normally do is I go back and then I re-enter and then I save it. And upon saving it a second time, it works. See that? Beautiful. Now, let's do just at least one other question. These are the questions that we have to submit to workers' comp in New York State. And so again, let's add a field. It's going to be 5 or whatever you want to label it. Again, here's a list box. I'm going to use 3. Here are 1. See that? Again, it's short, but okay,
Real
fine.
quick, those long labels, they should wrap. So if that was a label columns 1 or 2, that long label should wrap.
Yes, in fact, it dropped in the, here. Let me show you what he means is, oh no, it didn't here because these weren't very long. I'll show you then in this form. So we said for this question to use up 3 columns, right? But say if you only had, if this answer was really took up a lot of space as well, if say it was that bulleted list of body parts, you can give this question only 2 columns and give the answer 2 columns, save that. And you see how the question wraps. In your opinion, was the incident, you know, described the described incident, the competent medical cause of this injury? Competent, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, okay, but you see how the question wraps? That's what he's talking about. Say you needed to put a bulleted list here that took up a lot of space. So that's what he means. Okay, and now if we go to the encounter and we want to use it, and you're not seeing a workers' comp patient, we say no. Oh, you know what? I didn't do this part. So don't forget that over here, we have to select for the question to be hidden if the answer to insurance type is no. I gotta get rid of these bars. Let me minimize this bar. All right, I don't know how. Okay. Equals. No. You see that? Now, let me show you, say, one that we don't want hidden. I can either add another group. So I could say add group, and this will be, and this is how mine is actually. Right? And then here we're going to add a field. Say, I don't know, how is your pain today? Or you know what? Comments actually. The patients will come in and say, and this field in the second group cannot, so you cannot just start here at 1 again. Each field ID within a form needs to be unique. So here I can use 6, or I can use A, or yeah, or group 2 and label them with A because this is group 2, or I could label it 2.1, rather 1. And then here I would put comment, and I can make it a text box, text area. And I want to make it 60, and I want to make it 2 and 0 so that I can enter all the data, all the information I want. You have to be careful because if you say that here you're going to allow only, say, 250 characters, and then 1, 3. I'm sorry, I cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. Save new field. So I'll give you an example of what has happened to me before. So if we're in a visit with the patient and we have the visit progress note, right? And oh, we gotta set this to open automatically. And I enter all this data, you know, more than 250 characters, 250. And then I save this because set only for 250, I'm gonna lose that information. I will, once I open it, actually, no. If I put in more than 250 characters, I need a lot of text. Where can I get a lot of text? Let's go here. Here. Is this more than 250 characters? Okay. So you get an error and you may lose your information. So what I do is I always, it's gone. You see that? So be very careful because what I do is when I know that I'm going to put in a lot of, I learned this the hard way. If I know that it's a space and I want text, just set it to 0. It's what I just always do. There. And so that way you don't run into, because this is gone now. See that? We have in, is it gone? Let me see. No, it's not gone. It's still there. But I have lost information before because I end up hitting the back button or doing that kind of stuff. You know, I've gotten so much better at this over the last 2 years, which is that I've been using this. So where was I? Okay. Here, showing this form. Now, if we've entered the vitals, there's a SOAP note here. If we expand it, we didn't really enter much information, did we? Let us enter, yes. Let us enter, the patient's not working. Yes, here. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here, yes. And we have within, oh, we changed it so I can enter all of the information. There. Save it. And here's your note. Now, because I created this note like this, then Mr. Phil comes back 1 day later. This note is from January. Say he came back, say, $303. This is, he's now an established patient. And we are going to pain management. This is chief complaint. Okay. And this bar needs to be minimized. Save. And we're going to open another one. And yes, it is workers' comp. And here's, so, and here is the here is the ID. The patient's not working. Yes. Yes. A lot of, why is my computer so slow? So here's his visit. Okay. Now, with layout based forms, we can do we can do other things. For example, there are options. What is it? Previous? No. Set. What is that? You know, I can't see this right now, but let me just select any. Okay, and what I want is here, default to previous value. We save it. Now we go to today's encounter. Well, not today's encounter, but say he shows up in April. April 4. Okay. Pain. Oh gosh. Okay, pain. And we're going to save this encounter. Where am I? This is the demo. It's usually quite fast. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. It's me. Okay, here you go. And then we want to open our, you see that? So these are defaulted already to the previous choices. So this helps us not have to enter so much information. So in the end, for example, I have a section, I'll show you. Layout editor, we're gonna add another group. It's called add group. This is called assessment plan. Save new group. And we're going to add to that group. And you know what? You don't even have to add a group. It doesn't have to go in a separate group. The subjective and the assessment plan can be part of this initial group here. And you could just label this, you know, just full note if that's what you wanted. But here, I'm going to add a space for, where was I? 2, this is group 3, say 3_1. And this is going to be assessment. And we're going to use text box or text area. There it is. Again, 60. Again, well, we can make it say 3. We're gonna make it big, and 0. And then we're gonna use just 1 for the space, and we're gonna use 3 columns, and this is just the assessment. Okay, and then we're gonna save that field, and we're going to go back to our encounter. And when we open this here, the progress note, darn, I always forget to set the group to open automatically. Group properties, that one's already opening. Group properties here, initially open group. And group properties here, again. Okay, and then go to the encounter. And in the assessment section, we can open it all the way. And here you're gonna see the patient's medical problems. So we write assessment. And then we enter the diagnoses. And this will, in my case, because the patients always come for the same things, this will always be pulled from the previous note every time you open a new note. So you can pull data and you don't have to be re-entering the data every time. In my assessments, I have, in my plans rather, I have, I checked this, I discussed with the patient, because I always do the same thing every time with the patients, except we do a little bit of different counseling. So I modify my plan, and I don't have to spend all that time documenting. I get to chit chat sometimes. Let's see what the questions are. Okay, I think, I could take questions. I've taken up a lot of your time already. Okay, so to narrow the gap, you say if the question is short, just use one column and then use the other 3 columns for the rest of the gap. If you create a form and start using the form in patient encounters, then you want to change the form without potentially mess up the display in the older encounters. It could have, but they fixed it. Yes, David. Once I modified my forms and then I thought I had lost the data, but those guys fixed it because the data was still in the database. So now I think they use an internal field ID, because what I did is I went and I changed the field IDs. And so I couldn't see the data I had entered before. So that got fixed. They are trying to make it idiot proof for me. I break my system all the time. No, if you don't modify it, like don't delete lines where you have entered data, just don't delete them. But I remember that I messed up and it got fixed. Yeah, no, okay, I saw that you guys had that discussion. I hadn't seen it. Okay, any questions? What else did I want to cover? I think that's it on my end.
Yeah, no questions means, yeah, it was really nice presentation.
Yeah.
I think the only other option would be to show like how to get into a patient. But
yes, right. I knew I was forgetting something. Yes, I'm so sorry. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, so can you log in? Stephen, can you log in as Phil? Now, the other thing that you can do with layout-based forms is this. You can just remember your layout editor, remember the title, right? So this is called, no, not this one. I want to do that with the history form. Okay, grab your title from here. And we are going to make a form that we're going to save into our computer. And I forget the tags. Let's just save. This is a form, and we're going to save it as text. Template. Oh, wait a minute, where did that go? I'm gonna save it in downloads. Actually, it's already there. So we're gonna go now to the portal dashboard and we're gonna manage templates. And we're going to upload a template, choose the file. Gosh. Is this the template? It might be. I'm gonna upload that. So the way to enter the title of the form is this way. Where is it? Actually, I also want to, there's no way to rename a template. I shouldn't have renamed this template. I should have named it. I should not have named it template. I should have just named it pain history, but my brain isn't working right now. Here, we want to enter patient name. We want to enter the date. Oh, gosh. No. I'm gonna save it. And I want to send this template to Mr. Phil. Are you in Mr. Phil's portal? Stephen?
Gotta unmute myself. Yeah, I am.
So I sent you the template.
Okay. So let me just.
Only share your screen if I kept the right title because I forgot it.
Let's.
You can
see.
actually do the same thing in documents that you'd see in the portal. You can do the
I just set it up so multiple people can share. So hopefully you can
Yeah.
share.
Let me share. I don't know if everybody can see my screen. Let's see. Can you all see it?
Did it work?
Let's see.
And do I have to stop sharing?
I think we can choose.
I think I have to stop sharing. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's better if you stop because then the video will show.
I did,
Yeah.
but you
Okay,
see that
perfect.
it
Yeah.
didn't. I forgot pain history. Isn't that what it was? Let me look at my system and see. But you see how the form went into the patient portal under template? I never put a title in I didn't have a title set up, but let me just.
Yeah, this has to match. What I've highlighted here has to match with what the name of the LBF form is.
Right, but wait, no, but I did. It is LBF pain HX. Isn't that what the name that I used?
Is it the pain or the ID?
That is the ID. It's not the title, it's the ID. I'm gonna look at my system because it should be working.
Don't worry, no one's ever had live bugs in presentations. Me, all the time.
So what is the no, this is not it. So any questions? No?
I just want to mention that you can do this very same thing and test these templates in documents.
Yeah, I would like to Oh, yeah, I would love to learn that. Here it is.
Go to
Pain history.
if you go to documents real quick,
Oh, it's in counter form. It's not LBF pain history. Okay. I'm so sorry. I got it. Let me send it again, Stephen, so that it
Did you want to share your screen so people can see what they're? I'll stop.
no, you I don't know. You're there already, right? So
Yeah, people are gonna want to know what you enter in correctly.
sure, okay. Let me share my screen then.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know how to open. Oh, how do I get back there? Here we go. Share screen. Okay, so this is the tag. I don't know. I picked up this tag down here, but the tag is so the tag I used is if there is a layout based form and you want one of the fields to show up, you would put layout based form and then the ID of the field. But if you want the whole form to show up, then you have to put, this is the tag, encounter form, and then the title of your, in the demo, it's a lowercase h. And then let us save this now. And I'm gonna send it again. What happened to my screen? Somebody's playing tricks on me.
you didn't have to resend it. You should just be able to refresh in a portal and it should work.
Okay, well, Stephen. All you have to do is refresh your on the portal
Let
end.
me share my screen. And we'll try that again. I've refreshed the portal. We're gonna come here to the document. First document did not refresh, but we're gonna go to the other document. And there's the form. So there you go. And I can come in and I can start saying, I am sick with a bad cough.
Yeah. You
And
went to see the wrong doctor.
in my chest, right? So I can go in and start filling these things out, right?
Yes.
As a patient, and I'm lazy, so I'm not going to fill out the rest of that. And click on services.
Oh, you know what? Services would not show up, would not show in the patient portal. It's very late. I've taken up a lot of time, but
That's all right.
if anybody that's still around wants to see, I can share my screen, and there is an option that says, well, actually, I don't have to, I could tell you. There's an option in the options column that says exclude from portal. And so only the parts that you want the patient to see will be shown, and the parts that you don't want the patient to see will be excluded from the portal.
Yeah. Then I'm going to hit save. And that should be done. So there we go. Okay. I'll stop sharing now.
Oh, wait, submit it, submit it.
Oh, sorry.
If you submit it, I can show the audit, the patient portal audit.
Okay. So I hit save. I'll hit submit. Is there a required field I'm not filling out?
No, I didn't make any field required.
So
No, they're all optional.
let's
It's okay.
see. Yeah.
We don't have to.
Sorry, we don't get to share the love. I hit submit. But
Oh yeah, maybe it was the lack of saving. Submit again.
I'll hit save.
And
we'll
now
hit
submit.
submit.
I don't know what's up with the portal, with the
It's
demo, but
part
in
of
my
it.
system, it submits to the back, to my system. I see it. I'll show you where I see it. No, that's okay. I'm not sharing anymore. Next
Yeah,
time.
that's all right. Looks like Leonard and David had questions.
Sorry about my dog. How do you hide the field? In the options column, there is a an exclude from the portal option. There there isn't a way to share forms just yet, but that's not my department. That's the developers, guys.
Yeah, this is Brady. Yeah, it's more complicated because of like you're going through all the different lists that need to come in. So there have been definitely attempts, and the goal is to be able to do that at some point. And then like when you do like backups on the OpenEMR on the backup page, I think you can back up forms and things like that. But it's hard to import because you want to avoid clashing with stuff if you import into something. So it's tough, but at some point we'll have that in better shape, I think.
Yeah, and just so people are aware, I mean, because the video recording doesn't record the chat. Someone was asking if there's a way to export your form, and the previous question was how to hide a field.
Okay. The other thing is this particular form is in the demo. All the lists and the whole form, it's in the demo. So I don't know. No. We would have to export the layout based options and layout based, I forget the name of the other table.
Yeah, the list. Like if someone's thinking about how to migrate, like if you're setting things up for others, if you exported all of your lists and the forms, right, then that would do it, but it could get kind of gnarly. So
Well, the problem is that if wherever you're importing the exported form, if they have custom lists, you may override them. That's the biggest problem.
yeah.
So if you have the same list name that you're importing, it's going to overwrite the user's custom list.
Do we
But
have
you
any?
can-
Oh,
you
sorry,
can
go ahead, Jerry.
You can export the LBF and click the field on export to include list, and it will include all the list that belongs to that particular LBF form. Then you can import it in another system, although, like Brady says, there can be issues there. Generally on a new system, there's not a whole lot of issues, but on mature systems, you can run into problems with importing from another system.
Yeah, I think down the road, what we need to do is basically if you make a forum, those lists need to be unique, like, because then you don't want to end up using those lists in different forms. So,
Yep.
so I think once we solve that issue, I think it'll be a lot easier to do like what if you say, oh, this list is only going to be, it has sort of an ID that's only for a certain form, then things get a lot safer. So we just got to work that out, I think.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions for Sandra, or if we're all good, we'll stop the recording.
Sorry, that was so boring.
No, that was great.
Really good.
This is gonna be really, I mean, really helpful for people to, I think, go through this and see how to do layout based forms. There's a lot of.
Yeah, you can always turn it into double speed, so it goes faster, you know?
So, Sandra, I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
And I really appreciated how you were able to line up the data, the questions and the answers, and putting in the boxes. That was really fascinating, right? And the reason why I asked the question of being able to hide something is because in my demographics, I don't use Social Security, so I wanted to hide that, right? And when I hit that, the whole form became messed up, right? So I had to put it back as not being hidden.
What?
So,
I'm sorry, say that again.
No,
You wanted, what did you want to hide?
I wanted to hide Social Security from demographics because I don't use that.
And then what happened when you hit it?
The form became messed up. You know, the question and the answer, the layout was messed up. Right?
The columns.
Yes,
Oh,
they're all
good
messed up.
point. Because did you hide it by using the option that says optional, required and unused?
No, I do not remember how I hid it. There was something I checked that hid it.
There's an option. each line has an option and you can just say unused.
Okay. So
But if
if you,
everything got way off, now you know how to realign it.
yeah, I experimented with realigning it, right? And then my questions and answers were messed up. Question would be in one line and the answer would be in a different line, or they'd be far apart. There'd be a big wide gap. So
I think that, yeah, I think the demographics form is 4 columns too.
yeah. So this is really excellent, right? You've given me some ideas of other forms I would like to create, right? And I could work on them. So your form will be available to everyone, right?
It's in the wiki. I mean, the design of it, you'd have to put it into your own electronic, into your own OpenEMR.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, use it and make improvements and then tell me about it so that I can make mine better.
But since there's no import or export, you'd have to enter it in all by yourself over.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
later
so.
on we'll be able to import export, just not
But
now.
actually, you can import and export now. It's just how that form ends up on the distant system is what you have to worry about.
Mhm.
So you can try to import it, just back up your database first, try to import it. And so I'd get up on the demo, export it real quick so you have it. And
Yeah, there's a global you need to turn on in the globals that'll allow you to export. It'll show up in the administration backup.
yeah.
So
I'll make it.
Yeah.
I'll try to make an SQL statement and put it in my GitHub if you guys want, or somewhere in the wiki, even, so that people can use it. But it's a few lists. I mean, and the question is, do you really want to track? Do you really have to track how many patients you have with right arm pain? That may not be necessary. So, I don't know if we really need that many checklists. I did it because I was learning to use these forms. I needed to, if I don't understand something, I have a really hard time using it. So I just went deep into it and I started making a whole bunch of forms. I've done a PH9 form, I've done an ORT form. So I created a whole bunch of forms. So that's why I did it. But do you really need to have a list of body parts? Maybe just ask the patient, where's your pain? That kind of thing. That's the question.
Yeah, I think because there's the potential to blow that up, we're probably not going to demo that on this video right now, David, but maybe that's something you could ping us after, as far as how to turn that feature on. If you're doing it in a new system, you wouldn't want to do this in a non-new system. It's just not enough.
Yeah, I really wouldn't want to use that, but it's a good demo, right? Of a form that could be created, right? That's why I asked if it will still be in the demo tomorrow, right? For example.
It won't. The demo's reset every.
Okay.
Day. So yeah, I would screenshot it today.
It will not be.
In your wiki,
It will not be in the demo, but it will be in the wiki, the images. And in the wiki, there's also at the bottom, there are sources. You can go and see that there's an ophthalmology layout based form that's really good.
You have a link you could send me?
I'm sorry?
I'm asking for a link to the wiki.
Oh, it's in the chat. I'll post it again.
Okay, then good.
It's at the very beginning of the chat.
There you go. I think we can probably stop recording at this point, Brady.
Okay.